We are going to have so much fun, challenging fun, to make these earrings today using a tool that I mentioned in a community post. Many of you were familiar with this. Actually, according to the poll, almost 70% of you were familiar with this and use it. But there was a select few that did not know what this was or how to use it. So we're going to incorporate it using this jewelry clamp into making these earrings. Usually you'll hear this being used to make rings, but I find, well, you saw in a recent video where, man, it was a struggle to hold all these little pieces together in wire weave and things. And this solves that problem. Actually, this is a game changer piece. Next to the tumbler and my bail pliers, this is my absolute favorite tools, and I wish I'd had it all along. So definitely something for you to invest in. I'll have it linked down below. The ones I got, you got 2 in one package, so that was great. You could have one at your different stations where you need to, like polishing, you can hold your piece in here and polish it. So really useful tool. And it's really going to come in handy when we make these fantastic earrings today. Let's go over some tools and supplies we are going to use to make these great earrings. Of course, I only have one. We're going to make the matching one today. That clamp that I said is fantastic. We are definitely going to be using that today. If you don't have one, it's not the end of the world, but this is going to make it a ton easier. For the main structure, we're using 20 gauge. We're going to step down to 24 gauge to wrap our beads. 26 gauge for this optional. I did like a twisted wire wrap on this Briolette. That's an option. You don't have to hang it like that. I just did it that way. I've got a bench block to go with my nylon hammer here. Of course, with cutters, gotta have your nylon pliers, round nose, tweezer nose, chain nose, something like that, and bail pliers. Add on to that a ruler, of course. And if you have one, a bracelet mandrel, or something that is 5 inches in circumference is going to be helpful, or I measured it, it's 35 millimeters in diameter. Something like that. A pill bottle or something, that's what's going to help us make these arches, if you will. Taking our 20 gauge wire, it's dead soft. It's what I prefer to work with, but it's not necessary. You can do half hard. And I like to take my nylon pliers and pull out a length, run my pliers over them. Maybe your spool is like this. This just has like kinks already built into it. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe you don't have that issue, but still. I do find this to be helpful, and you want to have these handy because the wires are always getting kinked, and kinks are the enemy. We're going to measure off 5 inches, or roughly around 12.5 centimeters. If you're going by that, that is going to be our outer rim. And then the inner ones are going to be 4 inches. It really does help if you just go ahead and cut your pieces as you know, at the beginning. If you want to know how to do an ear wire, we'll be doing that at the end. Can't have a complete tutorial without having all the parts, am I right? Okay, now we're going to go ahead and form our shapes. We're just going to do them all at one time. Like I mentioned, I'm using this. It's 5 inches around, 13 centimeters around, as you can see there, or 35 millimeters in diameter. And I'm not getting crazy with this. I'm just getting a basic circle here. And we're just going to do all the other ones while we're at it. No point in getting it back out. This is the only time you're going to need this, so. And I'm just doing a basic, just pressing around. It is dead soft, like I mentioned, so this is super easy. But since it is dead soft, I'm just going to give it a little tapping. This also works to flatten it as well, a little bit more. Just a little bit. I ain't going crazy here because we're going to do some more later. I just want to get it nice and flat. Nylon hammer, 1/2" block. I didn't mention that. Gotta have a nylon hammer, nylon pliers. These are essential tools, in my opinion. All right, now that we have our shapes, these are our outer pieces, and here is our centerpiece. Holding like this, I take my chain nose pliers, whatever you have, and there's an opening here, and I kind of envision it down here. I'm going to grab a hold of that rim. I prefer to push the left side over the right. That's just kind of what I've been doing in this until I have something going like this. And mentioning that, I want to let you know that you want to have whatever side you put over the top, you will do the same for these. Just pay attention. Was it your left? Was it right? And repeat that when you get to these. I measured this opening side to side on each of these wraps, and I'm going for an inch, this belly. I'm just finding an inch in, a gap here, and I want this belly to be about an inch of opening here. So picking up our next piece, we're doing the same thing, except this time, just shoot for the middle somewhere. Remember, whatever you did before, you want to do it again. I'm bringing my left side over until they crisscross here. And for this next layer, we want 11/16. 8, 9, 10, oh, just about. I eyeballed that pretty well. Same motion again. Grab your final piece, grab it in the middle, if you brought your left side over, pushing that over. And for the center, we want 7/16. I know I didn't get that enough. It needs to be a little thinner than that. Let me see what I got here. I'm going to do a little bit more. See what that looks like. Just about. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, we got it. All right, so we are ready to start putting together. I'm just going to take these 3 pieces and we're going to kind of make like nesting dolls with them. We're going to put these down in, matching up this little bend in the bottom here. This is the only fiddly part of this whole project. Look at this. I just about have it. And something I didn't mention at the beginning, and I am so sorry. It just dawned on me when I did this, that when I made the original one, to lock this in, I'm going to hold, I think I held it like that. I had to remember what I did. I found a little piece of, this is like medium sticky packing tape. Like if you have blue painter's tape, I wouldn't use the green one because that's even extra sticky. Or maybe some just very gentle masking tape. And we're just going to hold this together. I don't want to, after I've fiddled for however long, I don't want it to fiddle out. I want it to stay, right? Ugh. Before I get started, again, on the next part, I'm just gently touching this, gently tapping them. Just kind of lock it in place just a little bit. And you can still make adjustments. I'm looking at this line of crisscrosses, and I'm trying to make sure that they're in a straight line. That is what I'm looking at when I'm doing this. This top spot right here, we want to make sure, well, it looks like the top right now, but it'll become the bottom. We want to make sure there's enough room in there to fit a bead. So I might just adjust it a little bit. And you can use pliers for this as well to open up that spot a little bit. So this is where this part of the tutorial comes in. I'm going to show you a little bit how to use this. So it comes with this wedge, And you can use it both sides. And in this part, with the ones that I've got, it's got, I don't know, I think it's like pleather. It's definitely not, well, I don't know. I'm pretty sure this is pleather in here, so you're not damaging whatever you're holding. And so I'm gripping the one side and then pressing down. It's kind of like a seesaw thing going on here. I'll press down on the one side, stick in whatever you're working on. Position it where you want it. I think that gives me enough room to work on. And then you take your wedge, stick it in there, and press. Now, one little extra thing you can do, this is where you ladies have a little fun, just smashing something. Man, just give it a good old whack. Because some, I had heard, well, I had read in a few places, they were saying, well, it didn't hold. It didn't hold. Hit that thing. Tell that thing what to do. I didn't have any problems with this slipping or moving or anything like that. I just slammed it on the table, slammed it on the floor. All right, we are ready for the next part. As you see in this one, I used the most gorgeous, what are these? Black onyx. Just a little backstory. Many of you asked, where do I get all my supplies and my tools? But I'm going to tell you about 85-90% of everything that I have came from my late boss. She passed away from COVID, and she was a jewelry maker. She had a little business called Three Trees Designs, and her husband gave me all of her stuff. And this is her handwriting, and whenever I see it, I just remember Sally Buchanan and her, the most wonderful lady. I'm telling you, the most amazing lady I'd ever known in all my life. She did everything well, and jewelry included. So in honor of Sally Buchanan, we're going to use these little beads today. I already have a few out in this little dish.
Oh, precious.
Oh, yeah. So we're only going to need 3, and then I have one of these little briolettes for later. And before we start tying in these ends, this is where we're going to slide on one bead, and we're going to set it right down in this little gap right there. I'm telling you, this thing is a game changer. I absolutely love it. No fiddling, no aggravation. It just removes so much headache with some of this stuff. I wish I had found it sooner, but better late than never. I'm just sliding the other bead on there, and we're going to just set it down in that little gap. Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm just trimming our ends here to about 1/2 inch. And this is important. This one is a little scary. I don't know if that one is long enough. And I'm going to show you why it causes a problem if you don't give yourself enough to work with. Okay, so this one that I was working on, I think this is the front. You see how I didn't have enough and it pulled in this arch and it like deformed it? You want to make sure that you have enough to do a loop so it doesn't pull on the structure. It just makes the loop without damaging what you're working on. So I start with my tiniest round nose that I can find in my stash. I'm getting right on the end, and I'm not pushing on this wire here. I'm really just only working on this wire, trying not to push on that wire to pull it in. Then if I need to, and then I can transition to some chain nose pliers to press that down without deforming the shape of the outer edge. See, this one's got me nervous because I don't think I left enough. And you're constantly adjusting while you're working this. It's inevitable that they're kind of going to get misshapen a little bit. Let's see if I can make this work. I'm going to transition over to these chain nose and just press it down. Aha! I think I got it. We're not interested in getting little perfect loops in this. We just want it to hold the wire, to grab onto it. So another reason why I love this, I can just turn my whole piece and hold it in a way that I feel, for me, I can access the side better. I'm right-handed. I want things where I'm working to be on my right side. This just made it so easy to turn it. I still have total control. I didn't lose shape. It didn't fall apart on me. And I still can work with ease and control. I'm doing the same thing. Smallest round nose pliers I have, and I'm going slow. I am paying attention to where the end of this wire is going, making sure not to deform this outer wire. Using chain nose. Can you see that? Can you see what I'm doing? I am pinching on that little loop. Just pinching it down. I don't need to go crazy just yet. Just pinching that down. I'm going to turn this back around and get those last couple loops in. Because when you're going like this side of the barrel wants to push into the wire, this wire that's coming out. So I'm making sure to try and not do that, because then that ends up bending that wire in, and I don't want that. So that's when I'll go over to the chain nose pliers to press the rest of the way in without losing the shape. Okay, one more to go. I cannot stress enough how you just want to go slow. And then I'll just press down with chain nose pliers. That one might be a little too long. And do some final checks to just make sure we have things where we want them. While we still have our form here locked into our clamp, we're going to wire on one more bead, that final bead in the top corner. And I think these are about 4 millimeter. 24 gauge, dead soft. This is what's going to wrap this little bead right into this corner here. And I get, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches. What's that look like? Looks like 4.5. Let's see what it is. Closer to 4 inches this time. Ugh, carry lost. Doesn't matter, something like that, something that is long enough you have to work with, but not so long that it's just too cumbersome to use. Sometimes I'll get my wire cut too long, and then I don't know what the world is going on. Because where we want to wrap it is more angled up, I'm going to go ahead and get the wire in that direction before I even put it on there. So I'm just putting the little bead roughly in the middle, and just pull up these little side arms already. Just get it in that position. I'm just holding that with my finger, and you're still going to have to use your hands to hold a little bit. And I'm going to go for, I think my original earring had 3 wraps on either side. Oh my gosh, I'm sticking up my fingernail. Okay. one more on this side. Pull slowly. You pull too fast and you got an issue, you're getting a kink. Kinks are the enemy. And there we've got 3 on that side. And just one more coming over the back makes 3 on the front. Trim that excess off. And now we can turn. You've got control. I'm telling you, I love this clamp. And I'm going to tuck in. You know what? I think I need to take off a little more. Little tweaks, little adjustments to get it right where you want it. Okay, so you're going to notice on this one that I put some little wraps in here to hold these wires together, but that's when I was first doing it. I was envisioning it like this, and I switched it to this, to hanging down with a little Briolette. And so if it's going to be hanging like that, these beads aren't going to go anywhere. Gravity is just going to hold them down. Plus, it's a little cleaner look. I'm going to make this little loop that we're going to attach our wire to, and I need about 1 centimeter because that amount works perfectly with the 2 millimeter bail. Bend it back this way just a little bit so I can then put this little loop in. Remember, using the first bail, 2 millimeters on my pliers works so well with 1 centimeter of wire. You just get this perfect loop. So remember that. I got to adjust that a little bit, but just remember that when you're wanting to make a loop and you're like, well, what is the perfect amount that goes around 2 millimeters? 1 centimeter. Perfect. And you just get the most great little loop. Ta-da! Okay, it's time to remove our earring from our clamp here. And you can, sometimes I find if you just turn it to the side, you know, if you just jammed it on the table and you got mad at it to really lock it in, if you just kind of turn that wedge to the side, it comes out quite easy. Perfect. Get one. And I'm going to very delicately remove this tape. And see, it's all still in shape, but it is still able to come out of shape if we don't take care of it in this point. So I'm going to get my clamp back out again, and it's just far down in there that it's not really pressing against those beads, so it should be okay. We're going to use 24 gauge to make this little wrapping on the end. I think it just adds a nice little detail. It's not really the end, it's now the top. Remember, I changed the design, and I'm pulling about a foot. Something that I found worked for me was just putting it down the center, and the one side will wrap on the left, this one will go to the right. I found that just worked the better. So just put it in, pull it out, and then one will naturally be going to the right and one will naturally just go to the left. And then just put in a couple wraps. I think I'm doing 5 on each side. I want an odd number though, so there will be one in the middle. That original one will become our center, the keystone, if you will. I'm pulling it really tight, maybe some pliers if I need to. I'm sorry you can't see what I'm doing underneath my fingers. I'm just pulling that tight if I can. Lining up the wraps here. Going slow, keeping kind of that circular shape going so it goes into place. Thank you so much for all your comments and the responses to the videos, your questions. Really enjoy interacting with each and every one of you. I so appreciate you subscribing and liking the video. And you know, one thing I really appreciate is you watching all the way to the end of the video. That does so wonders for just the channel in general. And I really appreciate it. Many of you that stayed to the end of the video last time knew that I mentioned about I'm going to be working on hairpins. And I wanted to know your interest. And many of you responded with, yes, I want to learn how to make some hairpins. So I appreciate you staying to the end of the video and you heard my question and you responded. So sweet. Again, let's see, I've got 5 on this side. It's the 6th one being our keystone, if you will. Obviously, I did not need a foot, but whatever. There we go. Sometimes you just need to use the pliers, but keep those nylon pliers handy so you don't get any kinks. You see how I made that little circular shape? It just makes it go through a little better. According to my count, I've got 2 more wraps to go. And then we're going to attach the Briolette, which is optional. You don't even have to do a Briolette. You can just do a single wire wrapped bead. I did use the Briolette to echo the shape of this Marquise opening here. I thought it would look pretty with that. But that is, if you don't have Briolettes, you don't have Briolettes. Who cares? Put in what you have. Did I say 2? 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. Notice I'm not cutting these wires yet, so what if I need some more? But I just want to pinch this together. I think just by looks, I need one more. This side is not going as good. I wish I was more ambidextrous. I still feel like it needs one more. There. That was it. Trust your eyeballs. You know, trust them. You know what looks good. You can tell if it needs something else. If the directions say this and you're like, nah, I think it needs, listen to it. I can't tell you how many recipes I've followed. Like, this don't seem right. I think I need to add such and such, but that's what the recipe says. They must know what they're saying. You know. I should have just trusted my instincts. Okay, I'm just trimming these wires. I think I cut about a foot, but I probably only needed about 7 or 8 inches. But I will say that that extra wire gave me extra to pull on. You saw me using my hands a lot, so, you know, it's up to you. Now I have this awesome little point on there. I just think that is such a great little detail. Okay, we're going to move on to wrapping this Briolette, or use whatever bead that you want, a round bead, whatever shape. This is just your option. I'm just going to cut a length here because we're going to do some wire twisting, and I definitely want to make sure that I have enough. Gosh, see how tiny that is? You got to have a 26 for that, but it works. And I'm sliding on my bead and roughly bringing it to the middle here. And pulling it upwards till they crisscross, bringing it right down around the point of that bead. Keep those wires at 90 degrees as you're turning. And I'm pinching right where they're turning. And I'm going to go for as much of wraps as twists, I should say, that I can get from this wire. Probably got about 6 inches left on each end here. Maybe 5. Because this is going to form the little wrap. We're going to make a wire wrap loop. So this is an option for you, even with the round bead or whatever bead you might be using. If you want to get a little fancy, you know how we do the little loop and it's got the little scarf on, and then you wrap it around that neck of the wire coming out of the bead. Well, this is an option for you for something a little fancy. No, I'm not that fancy, but every now and then, I'm a pretty basic girl, and down to earth, and you know, I can tell you what, you know what I'm gonna do a little later. We have a wood stove. We heat our house with a wood stove, and I'm gonna get in the sled, and I'm gonna slide down to the wood pile and get some wood. That's how fancy I am. And then I'm going to feed the chickens. And do some house cleaning, and I'm just, you know, your basic gal. Likes to do a little gardening, likes to do some painting. There is supposedly an easier way you can do this with a drill, but we ain't doing all that. Not getting noise out, you know, that makes noise. It's just, no. I'm enjoying the quiet of this morning and enjoying being with you. We're going to go with this, I think, though. I think I got enough. It's starting to get a little too wobbly. I'm just going to cut off the ends. And now you can do what you always do with a wire to wire wrap it. I'm just using old nylon pliers just to kind of press it all down. Round nose pliers on your twisted wire like this, then back to yourself, turn your pliers so it's kind of in that neck, in that corner that we just made. Maybe a little bit more. And then press over the round nose pliers. Turn your pliers so it's like this. We're making that little scarf that I mentioned. And this is an option. You can go ahead and put this on here, attach it. Go ahead and wrap it. And then since this is an open loop, you could open this up a little later and put it on. What should I do here? I think I'm going to try just holding this loop with my pliers and doing these wraps. See, that just adds a little something. Totally not necessary, but you know. And I had more than I think I needed. Isn't that cute? Come on now. I'm not going to trim it yet. I'm just going to leave it there for a second. Okay, now we can attach to our earring. One thing I didn't show you is that to get our alignment, to get it to be like this, attached like this, I had to turn this loop. And it's very simple. You just hold your piece and just grab some chain nose pliers and turn it. The wire is so flexible and forgiving. So just turn it. Sometimes that happens when you're making bracelets and things like that. You get it, oh no, this is going the wrong way. It's as simple, just grab it and turn it. I'm just going to attach this. And close this little loop. Okay, I think I can safely cut that end of this twisted wire. It's just so pretty. I hate to cut it. I really do. But can it go one more time? Let's see. Oh my gosh, I think it's going to go one more time. Oh my word. See, I'm glad I didn't cut that. And now I can just trim that little bit that's sticking up. Take some pliers and then just tuck that down. Come on. It looks like he's got a little knitted cap on. So there we have our earring, and now we need to make an ear wire. So I got a piece of wire here for our ear wire, and the only reason it's a little bit larger than I usually use is because I'm doing the first time with you. I hadn't attached one to this one. I realized, I don't know what this needs to fit on that. And so we're going to do it together and figure out how in the world, which one does it need to be? Because I know I need to use a bigger bail. Usually I use the first bail, which is 2 millimeters, but I know that is not going to work for that. So I think I'm going to try 4 millimeters. I've got 2, 3, and 4 to make the little loop on the end. And then if I got a little extra on there, oh well. I'm going to try that. I think that might work. But the rest of the ear wire is the same, the ones I always make. I did branch out a little bit. I did make a video on some fancy ear wires. I still go back to the same old, same old. I think that's going to work. Let's see how it fits onto that part of the ear ring that's all wrapped like that. Yes, that is perfect. Yes, and it's got area to move. Yeah, that's going to be perfect. So if you want to make an ear wire that fits right onto the top here, 4 millimeters in there for this bigger loop. Obviously, I got some excess here, so let's just trim to what looks good. And then put that little bend in there. And can you believe that my nail filer, this thing right here, it died. What? No. This thing was dead. I couldn't get it to work. Yeah. Okay. In the trash that goes. Should I slam it out the back deck later? I think I will. I think I'll slam it out on the ground later. So I don't have one handy, but you're going to want to take a file and trim and file these edges. And there we have a really lovely, come on, that is so beautiful. Hair up, hair down, that is going to shine and sparkle. I forgot to mention that these are spinel, but I think, are they spinel? Yeah. These were black onyx, these beads, and this is black spinel. That is really lovely. My goodness. Okay, so an update on the hairpin project that is coming. I just got my 14 gauge wire in yesterday from Copper Wire USA. So I'm going to be working on hairpins. Hopefully this will work. Hopefully I don't need to go to 12 gauge, but I'm going to be working on this. And then the weeks to come, we're going to do hairpins. I'm really hoping you enjoyed that. I did. So many moving parts and interesting techniques that you learned in this. Did you like this? Did you think I've got to have one? I can't live without this thing now. I'm pretty sure I'll be using this in every single jewelry project. Absolutely indispensable. This tutorial is complete, and I'm already, no joke, already thinking about what are we going to work on next week and have some fun creating. Well, until then, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you again next week for Tutorial Tuesday.